So before we get into WoW here, we got a little bit of something to watch. That's right, our favorite boy Bellular is going to come in fast and hot with some new WoW news secret feature. Blizzard finally confirms they are not abandoned. Interesting. Ring broke. Yeah, we talked about that. And insane new designs and more. Let's check out what Bellular has to say before we get in here and destroy Razageth.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Saturday. That means it's time for the WoW news. And with a fresh patch having launched, we've got an absolute ton to get through. And I can actually get stuck in, starting with an unannounced feature that launched into 10.0.7, kind of snuck in, that kind of blew me away. It's actually really smart.
What?
Just like how we can blow you away with the Pale Beyond. Okay,
what a lead-in.
That may not be my most subtle bit of self-promo ever, but it's actually, as of the time of this video, 1 month and 1 day since the, since we released our first game, The Pale Beyond, a narrative survival role-playing game. It's gone down an absolute treat on Steam. I think we're currently at 91. If you want to support us, absolutely, I'd say check the game out. We also have a multi-part documentary on making the game over on our Studios channel.
To do this.
And, suffice to say, the sort of launch quirks and stuff, dev team have totally got those sorted, but that's actually not the end of development. And maybe it would be fun to do a victory lap anyway. So now that I've done a little bit of self-promo and a little bit of teasing, let's get stuck into our first story, the Zul'Gurub's Secret. Okay, 10.07 had a ton of stuff in the patch notes. It had plenty announced, but also there was quite a lot in data mining that we were expecting but never got, or so we thought, because it took a few days of digging, but people discovered the new secret in Zul'Gurub, and it allows players to craft items that were actually removed from the game entirely in Cataclysm. So credit, of course, to Wowhead for their post and to Epic for their research.
Did I miss this?
Here's how it works, and actually it's way cooler than it needed to be. Okay. In a side entrance to the pyramid Jindo is found on, there is a gong that's surrounded by ghosts. Just under the gong is the Shattered Hikari Baiju. You need to combine this with the Fragmented Hikari Baiju, which is in the same location, but in the Spirit Realm. Now, to get to the Spirit Realm, you need to kill any 2 bosses and then activate Jindo, activate Jindo and then start the fight. Blast them down to 1 HP so that he phases you into the Spirit Realm, and then you can go pick up the Shattered Baiju and leave. The 2 items together make a quest item, and that quest item is turned into this NPC, Rinwosho, in...
Holy crap, this is overly complicated. How did anybody figure this out? Damn.
And always use another death
I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on. Come on. Another month with Pug Raid Central. Condi, thank you so much for that sub. 5 months now being a Death Knight ever Scourge. This man tries to even wake up and still subs. Sometimes he just sleeps through the stream and he still subs. Thank you so much, Condi. I appreciate that.
And now that you've done that, the thing is actually unlocked account-wide, allowing you to farm Hikari Baijos from the trash and the bosses in Zul'Gurub. Different types of Baijo are traded with Rinwosho for different sorts of things. Though, he will have actually moved to the entrance of Zul'Gurub for a little bit of convenience. And you can also fish where Gazranka was, right? You can get basically 1 blue cash per day, and they give you a bunch of Baijos and a chance of some old items. There's also a new toy that you can pick up here, which has a bit of a secret attached to it.
But hold on, side note to all of this ZG stuff. There has been a lot of things going on in the old world, WoW. A lot of things. There's a Doran video that I wanted to check out about some of this stuff, and I wasn't sure if I was going to watch it today or not, but we might, because there is a ton of stuff going on in the old world that leads us, a lot of people are starting to speculate that we're going to get some old world content in the next expansion. Maybe some old world revamps in certain places. I'm not saying the whole thing, but there are a lot of hints at like Blizzard devs concentrating on old world content and old world revamps, which I love. Personally, I think it's amazing, and I hope so.
Classic skilled alchemists can read this tablet to learn how to make the Mojo Madness, and using that potion on the Brazier gives you an hour-long buff that makes mobs in Zul'Gurub friendly to you. And then that lets you turn in those Baijos into the blood piles across Zul'Gurub, basically as like, for offerings. Now, offerings can include ancient patterns for previously removed crafted gear. And that means blacksmiths, get ready to make insane bank from some of these transmogs, because like a few,
wow, what a way to bring some transmog
but there's some
back.
really awesome shit. The offerings can also include Zandalar coins, and these Zandalar coins let you buy ensembles and recipes from Rainbow
We're addicted
Show.
to Sam's Edgy.
So here's the deal. This is super flavorful, super esoteric,
What's
and
up,
really
Dixie?
just
How's it going?
good.
Good morning.
The devs who worked in this didn't phone it in. They popped off, and for this to just be a secret, not announced as a marketing beat, this is just like a whole little side feature on its own. I mean, sure, yeah, it's grinding Zul'Gurub, but I think it's doing so in a way that has some neat economic implications for crafters. Cool. It offers a ton of transmog to players, all while reusing an old raid, characters, and ideas from the past, making it a total 10 out of 10 job, Blizzard. Whenever I initially saw this, I thought, oh, what, is this going to be an anniversary event this year? No, it's actually a feature. So, awesome. Just like this next thing.
Raiko
Speaking of insane, Blizzard
sent it off to him on
put
Friday.
this in the game. And they actually hadn't told anyone to get it, but we were all pretty sure how. And yes, it turns out that
the big log boy toss, yeah, you get that for doing the Bane questline. I have it already. It's a cool toy.
Finishing the Bane Blood questline gets you this toy. But if you're a Tauren, you also get this cloak. A set of twin totems to carry around, which, I mean, it's like peak.
You get the weapon, actually. I don't know. The cloak, I thought, was part of the Heritage Armor questline, wasn't it? Is he wrong here? I know you get the totem, you get the weapon, but he said you get. I'm confused a little bit. Maybe you get both, but I thought the totem back was part of the heritage, and then this was part of the quest.
Box art Tauren, which is great. Now, while they don't, unfortunately, I do think that taking these off after wearing them, for a while, should maybe give you some sort of an extra jump height.
The Bane questline's a lot of fun. If you haven't done it already, make sure you do it.
But they look awesome. And there's also a really badass totem weapon. It's technically a two-handed mace. So currently it's believed that it only drops for characters who can wield those two-handed maces, which means Taurens who are warriors, paladins, DK druids, and shamans can go and pick it up. But badass. Anyone else is excluded. It's also technically...
You can literally be the Tauren from the cinematic. Literally the Tauren from the cinematic that fights the dwarf hunter. You can finally be him.
A main hand only two-hander somehow, and that means that enhancement shamans are left out and that fury warriors can't rock two of them, which kind of sucks. So hopefully Blizzard
double totem
back there. It opens these up
a
little bit, maybe to be dual wieldable or something like that. Maybe even a staff or a polearm version for casters and hunters. TLDR though, yeah, that's sick. Okay, next, some items with teeth. Because speaking of items, 10.1's PTR recently got an update and it added an effect to a very rare item that is absolutely cracked. Now, it's a very rare item, so these function as like little quasi-legendaries. I think they're mostly there to be just some odd, wacky fun and a little bit of power that's nice to have. But this one's mad. It's called the Voice of the Silent Star. And believe me, there's definitely lore things to talk about with that, but anyway, it's a cloak, and it's caused a bit of terror amongst the community because,
people are scared of getting trolled on this thing.
It has an effect that steals secondary stats from your allies and gives them to you.
As a primary stat.
It also doesn't have any stamina on it, which means that wearing it is actually kind of dangerous to you, which is unhinged. And honestly, this is unhinged, so I kind of love it. Now, the downsides are immediately obvious here. Like, you're going to die and be called a scrub. Like, if you're progging in this and there's a big healing check and you're the person that goes down because you're wearing the cloak that gives you more power, then that's on you.
It's going to be a parser's dream. That's what that cloak is. That cloak is a parsing cloak, man. You essentially weaken yourself, but then you get a buff that weakens people around you but buffs yourself, and then you just parse your dick off for the next 10 minutes, the next, whatever, how long this lasts. That's crazy. I'm not sure how this cloak's going to be taken by raids. For
using this, although depending on the social situation of your guild, maybe it's fine. I know for my guild, it will be a bunch of banter. I mean, imagine if it procs and takes haste away from somebody during their cooldowns. Ow. Maybe they'll protect it against that. And it's a bit of a weird thing, because I can totally see how this is like sort of mad disruptive chaos, right? But also, this is a very rare item, which means that it's...
One person wearing this is okay, but imagine a couple people, like 4 people in the raid having this, and they're simultaneously stealing 157 of your secondary stats times 4. That could start to get a bit annoying for people. I could imagine.
It's not exactly intended to be something that, you know, everyone gets.
It takes the lowest secondary stat. That's true. That's true. So because it's the lowest, maybe it matters less, right? And it takes those lowest stats and gives them to your highest primary stat. So maybe it doesn't really have an effect because it's really it's going to be a stat that people don't give a shit about. But the lack of stamina is one that's going to kind of bother people probably. Because you're still making yourself more squishy by wearing this thing.
It's like it's just them having fun with a pretty strong item that's just a bit cracked and unhinged. And I think that is the kind of texture that maybe WoW needs sometimes. Because, yeah, things can get kind of clinical. Now, of course, sadly, it does also create maybe an opportunity for arguments, pug nightmare scenarios, and collapsing guilds of those that really go all doom on it. But also, I think it's like pretty damn cool and interesting. And I think Blizzard should always try to do what's cool as their North Star. Players can always adapt. I mean, maybe I just have a bias towards chaos. I certainly do remember Ian Hazzikostas talking about, you know, there's Game 1 and Game 2. And Game 1 is the game that they're making. And in Game 1, the idea that a priest can cast power infusion on their ally to make them stronger, they think that's a really cool fantasy. And as a new priest main, I also think it's a pretty cool fantasy, and I enjoy it. But obviously then, when that gets into the parsing situation, it creates a bit of drama.
That's right.
But that whole thing of the parses and stuff to Blizzard, that's Game 2. That's like the community thing the community's doing, and not necessarily the game that they're making. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this kind of Game 1 versus Game 2 thing. Next, though, I think something uncontroversially good. The lack of Battlegrounds is honestly fucking atrocious.
I have not done Battlegrounds in so long. I'm not gonna lie. There was a time back in the 2000s where I loved to do some Arathi Basin and pump some Deadmau5 in the background. That's right. Your boy Sam used to love those YouTube highlights, and he would want to make them himself. So I'd run around Arathi Basin playing some Deadmau5, killing Horde. I haven't done Battlegrounds in years.
Actually something that may be resolved.
A refresh would be nice.
Sadly, I can't just come here and tell you they're definitely coming, and I know when, but Blizzard commenting this is good, because there is a forum thread, right, in the Community Council with Thicksha basically posting, asking for more maps without necessarily new modes. Just the simple idea of adding in more Capture the Flags and more domination maps, that would be fine by players. And, you know, the Blizzard obviously has the team size to get that sorted. Personally, I wholeheartedly agree. Whenever a new Battleground comes out, like, I don't need it to be a new, like, game mode
new game style.
Actually. I mean, in some cases, I don't even want that. You know, like with the bizarre patch 7.3.5 Azerite Battleground.
True.
Actually, just give me loads of Capture the Flags. Give me some 1 flag CTF, some 2 flag CTF. And in the same way that, like, playing Halo on loads of different CTF maps is fun, I think that would be fun in World of Warcraft. And the good news is that Devzin from the WoW development team responded saying, quote, "We agree with the sentiments expressed here and we're working on it. Unfortunately, nothing to share or announce today. We love Battlegrounds too." So hell yeah, that's a confirmation that people in the WoW dev team are working on more Battlegrounds, which is good.
A good time for Warlocks.
And speaking of good, Warlocks certainly did have a few good days. This is more of a...
this came out, and this was ridiculous. The amount of DPS they were putting out. Blizzard chalked it up to a bug, and I think they did nerf it. I don't think they did. I know they did. But I think Warlocks are still at the top anyways.
Yeah, saying anything, but if you see this image from Wowhead's recent post about raid damage going around, don't pay much attention, because basically it turns out there was a bug with Warlock talents that gave them an absolutely massive amount of extra damage.
It was insane.
And it has since been fixed by Blizzard. So if anyone is sharing
that was the group target, I think. The single target damage was even crazier. The single target damage was like they were doubling Windwalker Monk. was pure insanity.
If anyone is sharing that image without context, trying to say that warlocks are insane or popping off,
even without
give
the
them,
bug,
an info
they're
slap in the
great.
wrist about reading context instead of just looking at pictures, because the words are important too. It shows how much an accidental 5% extra damage can massively tilt rankings, though, doesn't it?
Tilt it to the max.
Tuning sure is a complicated thing. I'll talk about that in a bit, but first a little bit of, I guess, a PSA if you want to give Daddy Blizzard some more money. There's a sale on faction changes, which I would hope are a lot less needed for social reasons anyway once cross-faction guilds come in.
I fell for this. I did. I wanted to go back to human for so long, and I finally did because of the human haired arbage quest line, and I used the sale to do it.
But yeah, there's a sale on faction changes, on character transfers, on name and race changes. They're all 30% off, so if you don't feel like leveling a new character for the Tauren Totem or Heritage Armor quests, then I guess race change?
Yeah.
Blizzard money, maybe that's the plan, who knows? But I suppose it is well-timed, given
I don't know
the
if that got
whole
nerfed,
cross-faction guild
Captain.
thing. Obviously, some people, maybe they're only the
They're still putting out
they are
great DPS
because of those guild
warlocks.
things. Now, I would still say, the prices in these are outright goddamn vile, and this really, really should not be the case for simple services. But in a way...
Yeah. Look, they charge a lot for this shit. And I wonder how much money I've spent on services. Probably more than I want to think about, honestly.
Right, that is a ship that has long since sailed, and you have until April 3rd to make with this what you will. And
Do it.
to quickfire some other information. There's been a few different interviews with Ian Azacostas that have dropped since our last news video, because yes, it's a very busy time, and I thought we'd just give you the summary of the key points, right? So let's go.
Am I the only one that thinks Ian's a bit too close to his camera on these interviews? I mean, this man is all face. I feel like there's a better ratio. He's about 50% face in this. If not more, 60% face. I feel like he needs to back away from the camera a bit. He is like, I feel like I can hear him breathing.
Summary of the key points, right? So let's go. Ian said that old, unobtainable transmogs will be coming back. Not everything, so stuff like the Corrupted Ashbringer won't come back, but generally speaking, other things will come back. And I think quite obviously today's news about Zul'Gurub is a good example of that.
Mr. GM.
Also, they said that old recruiter friend rewards are reasonably likely to show up in the trading post. Basically, they think it's a good place for old promotional assets, and if people already have them,
I would love this. Previously recruited, we didn't find this. I didn't see this news. Previous recruited friend rewards showing up in the. That's why I keep telling you guys the trading post is a W. It's such a great way to get content that we weren't able to get in previous, for whatever reason. If it was a pay to get content or something, it's just an awesome way to deliver content that people weren't able to get before, for just doing shit in the game.
Big
W. Trading post is a big W.
Attendees for something else that they want in that month. He also told Hazel that Dragonflight is about player agency. Unsurprisingly, that people should be empowered to play the game the way that they actually want to and do things that they enjoy. Basically, what do I want to do today instead of what do I have to do today? So far, I think they've been doing a pretty good,
it's been feeling that way.
Good job of actually hitting that. Also, we should not expect a rework to the level of the Retribution Paladin to happen again for the rest of this expansion. I guess there are some
Retribution of Ret Paladins.
Ex-MM Hunter tiers for me. But anyway, he also said that Season 4 of Shadowlands was successful. I would totally agree. Season 4 was by far the most fun I had in Shadowlands anyway. And they do want to do something similar to that again.
Most alt-friendly expansion in the history of WoW.
They're not sure if they need like the fated affixes to return versus just having all of the raids being like available to run through. But
Fated was fun. But it was really put in because of a content drought. I don't know if we're gonna need Fated. There's so much content coming out at such a rapid pace this expansion. I think they're doing fine. I don't think we'll need Fated, to be completely honest with you guys.
Yeah, they're going to do something like that. And when I piece in a few things that they said before in past interviews, it also very much seems like whatever version of Season 4 that we get this time around, it's also going to include something for the world content players. Because, I mean, yeah, we all know that they were left out of Season 4. Also, the team is aware that feedback is coming in, that longer raids are actually exhausting to people.
Yeah.
So overall, then, I think that means that we should be expecting these 8 or 9 boss raids to actually continue instead of 10 plus boss raids.
Where's my man who asked me about it every day? There's a bit of me that's
like, you kind of have that thing of like, oh, number lower, less content, sad. But when I think about Vault of the Incarnates, to be honest with you, like, I thought they were really good quality bosses. And I definitely didn't find it fatiguing in the way that perhaps some giga-long raids would.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I've
said it before. 8 to 10. 8 to 10 is good. 10 is getting close to being too long. 8 is fine with me. 9 bosses is fine. I don't want a 12 boss raid. I don't want to be in a raid for 2-3 days, clearing that shit out and feeling like every week I have to do the same thing again. I like the shorter raids.
Yeah, I agree. If you said, hey, you can have a 14 boss raid or an 8 boss raid,
oh my god,
9
14.
boss, I would go for the 8 or 9 boss raid, but maybe that's just me.
No, I think it's a lot of people.
Next on Professions, where there's a bit of a neat feature coming. So, catch up then. Ian talked about catch up. He basically said that they are discussing it for Season 2 and beyond, where essentially for them, there's a bit of a hard line to draw between players not being permanently, as he put it, hopelessly behind, and then, of course, devaluing the existing work of crafters. So no, there will not be full catch-up, and Day 1 crafters will have more options.
Your boy finally started crafting.
But their goal is that if a player really wants a specific recipe, that they will be able to target that as a readily achievable goal. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually end up fully going about that. But another cool feature is they actually want to have NPC work orders in the future, where basically NPCs will send in work orders instead of the system just lying empty when players aren't using it. There is no ETA in that, and they actually do need a little bit of new tech first, so it's probably not a Season 2 thing, but yeah, it is something they want to do to just, I guess, keep that part of crafting engaging. The final thing, and I've dropped the little tuning hint earlier, so it's still a developing story, but the new Onyx Amulet basically has been interesting. It is being, like, those effects are being buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed. And really the explainer here, like the fundamental issue is it doesn't have secondary stats. The power comes solely from the gems, and that just leads to some very interesting scaling things that a lot of community members have been very insightful about, where, you know, it actually can be pretty bad for some classes and pretty good, or a bit better anyway, for some other classes. It's the sort of thing I think I saw somebody say that, like, yeah, this at item level 421 is actually more like a 390 because it doesn't have the secondary stats. Right. So yeah, no shit, Blizzard are just buffing the shit out of this. I am a little bit surprised that they weren't able to catch this earlier. I'm not the most concerned about it as much as, yes, some launch day quirks are an issue. It's the sort of thing where overall I do think this patch is a really, really big win. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to hyperfixate on this one problem.
By the way, you said something, Captain. You talk about gearing it out or upgrading it. Do you upgrade the rings item level by upgrading the stones item level? Is that how it works? Because I've been trying to figure that out. Like, do you have to upgrade both? Or is it just the stones that you buff the item level of and then it buffs the rings item level? Yeah, you upgrade the stones. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, yeah. I was like, what the hell? I can't figure out how to buff the rings item level. I guess I don't have to.
Sort of, cast like a big doom over the whole thing. But obviously, this should be better. It
that was a bit confusing.
Like this. And, yeah, they should have it fixed. That being said, they've been very rapid about these buffs. I would absolutely hope then that within the first week that they are within a pretty reasonable bracket of their final tuning goal, and that most of the pain will be over with. Because ultimately, it's that sort of thing. Even when it's a bit weak for its item level, it still is a pretty handy catch-up for new players. But the design intent per Ian is for it to be pretty much like a super strong BIS thing that you're really excited to get. So obviously, at launch, they missed their design goal. And that is something that's a bit problematic because a lot of the gameplay loop of the Scara Vaults and, getting those keys is obviously around the amulet. So if the amulet's broken, then, it does actually scupper a little bit of their plan. And I suppose that's why they're probably being so rapid with
yeah,
you know,
they're
with
also
all-
being. I think they're being so rapid with the buffs is because it's only 10.0.7 thing. I don't think it's going to continue on past that. So they only have a couple months to make this ring relevant, and then it's going to be gone. Right? So I think they're just going hardcore on buffing the shit out of it just to keep it relevant for these couple months.
all of these buffs.
Diablo 4 and here.
Okay, and with that, just a little bit of Diablo 4 stuff. So, there's obviously a lot of World of Warcraft to play this weekend, but some of you may otherwise be busy. And I would say, though, that Diablo 4's open beta is actually currently ongoing, and both Matt and I would recommend that you give it a try. We played it. We have an in-depth impression video over in the Bellular news channel for when we played the more closed one last week. To put a long story short, the narrative, the atmosphere, the quality of execution and the gameplay during Act 1 is, I'll just say it like this, it's absolutely fucking smashing. I was really surprised. To me, it was better than I had any right to be.
The graphics look awesome.
And I really would highly recommend that you try it out for free when you get a chance. If you're watching this, then there's a decent chance you're interested enough already. And with it being free, I mean, why not? At the very least, you will, I think, get a pretty worthwhile experience. I think some of their narrative design is really on point, and goddamn, that is one immersive world. And that's not what I thought I'd be saying about Diablo. And with that, that is the end of the news. So, go download Diablo for some free fun, maybe go farm some Zul'Gurub for your transmog, get that Tauren totem, or wait quietly for more Battlegrounds. There is a lot to do across WoW and Diablo, I guess, which is not a sentence I expected to be saying. So, enjoy your weekend. By the way, human and orc heritage armor quest lines, we'll be talking about those soon, because
they're so good.
Holy shit.
They're so good.
How is this the same people that did Shadowlands? They are so good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're very good.
Okay, have a brilliant day. And of course, if you want to buy the Pale Beyond and also have that on top of your gaming wrap.
If you want it, do it. Do it, and do it now.